Yeah, well,
So
it's not too much I can tell you about the family.
no.
They're just terrible people.
Who's that?
My family are terrible people.
Your family's terrible.
Just like me.
Okay.
Well, my name is Sharon Jefferson, and I'm 83 years old. And I was born about 83 years ago in a little small town called Boley, Oklahoma, which was not very many whites, but mostly blacks. But it was a nice little town. And I doubt if it's still there. It's been that long ago. It wasn't very big, maybe about 5,000 people. But, well, it was a small town, so you went to school there through the 12th grade, and then you would go to a bigger town, to a college, and better education, and more jobs. Like in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and just there was a lot of towns, and there was also a lot of small towns. But basically you went to a bigger one so you could have a better education, more jobs. And my dad was born in Alabama, I believe, and I don't know where my grandparents were. I'm sure they were down in there somewhere. Two sets of families. My dad had two sets of children. And the first set was two boys and me, one girl. And the second set was 3 boys and a daughter. But now there's only myself and one brother.
Okay.
All the rest of them are deceased. The first 3 of us was raised with my grandparents, my daddy's parents, with them for a while and with others.
Okay.
And they were raised in a different town with him and his wife. My mother died when I was almost 4. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that's what made the 2 sets of kids.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Most of my cousins and all that kind of stuff were males. And there was, from the grandchildren, there were 7 girls, and I was number 4. So I like to be around my grandfather a lot.
Sure.
For no special reason, but just, just wherever he was, I was too.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
No.
No, we didn't. We didn't have indoor plumbing. You had to heat your water outside in the summertime.
Okay.
And then you would heat it on the stove in the wintertime. But you didn't have go in and have a shower every day.
Yeah, sure. Did you have, was your stove an electric stove in the house?
No, it was wood.
It was a wood stove.
Oh yeah, you had to chop the wood and heat it,
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then my grandmother did cooking on the wood stove. But, like now we can do it, just push a button.
Yeah, right.
But it wasn't like that during that time, no. My grandmother made her own soap, and that was done outside. And the washing, and you hung your clothes on the outside. You even did that in the winter, but the clothes would freeze. And then they would stay out there for a day or 2 until they dried, and then we'd bring them in. Yeah. My. I know I would tell my number 2 son, he was the youngest of the 3, and I would tell him sometimes that we had to put this iron on the stove and heat it up, and he would look at me and say, "You're kidding, right?" To iron the clothes. And I would tell him, you have to make a certain heat, otherwise you would scorch the clothes. And he would look at me and say, "You kidding, right?" I said, "No, this is for real." And I used to have old-fashioned irons that we used to use a long time ago. Yeah. But you didn't know anything else because that's how it was.
Yeah. So you said your mom was a seamstress?
My grandmother was.
Your grandmother was a seamstress.
Yeah. She just made clothes for her family, for her children, and a little bit for others. So if a button came off, and you could get a pin, that was a no-no. You didn't pin. No, you put a button on. Okay. If a button came off, you sewed it back on.
Right.
Yeah. And if you sneaked out and got away with that, that was a no-no. We didn't go to movies.
Gotcha.
Outside movies.
Right.
And if you sneaked and saw them, we did it at somebody's house, not at somebody's house, at the movies, and they didn't know it.
I mean, did you have TV growing up in your house?
Mm-hmm. But you didn't have all these
No, I'm sure.
different stories. Yeah, we had TV,
Okay.
black and white.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we listened to the radio mostly.
Gotcha.
And I had two brothers that would scare me finally if I would listen to, they would have those horror stories on.
On the radio?
Yeah. To get me out of their way. They put that on. I mean, they turned the radio on. But I soon caught on to that, and it didn't scare me anymore.
That's good. To chat with someone who experienced that firsthand, that makes it more real, more tangible. So it's not just somebody's story out there, but
yeah,
it's your story.
It depends on what stories. Well, there's still a lot of stories there. But my grandparents, my grandparents, when there were two of them, they were old, and some of the stories that they told was just not really fun.
Sure.
They would only tell us some things because there were some things that my grandfather says, I don't think so. I don't want to tell you this because I don't want you to feel the way that we felt as we were growing up. And I didn't understand that until I grew up. We had the same challenges growing up too. Well, during that time, I can remember when I was young, before I was out here. I know I went to visit in a different town to visit my other grandmother. And I had an aunt that was 6 months younger than me, older than me. And we went into this restaurant. And I didn't know the place, but my aunt did, and, we were young people, and you go with the challenge. And as we walked in and sit down, there was someone in the back says, I'll call their name, which I don't remember what it was. There's a couple of packages up here that we need to send out, which meant it's time for you to ask these girls to leave. And they did. I don't remember what they said, but we thought that was really funny. We became packages instead of people. So it's different now. You can go anywhere you want, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No need to. That's why it was. There was no reason to be sorry. We weren't.
So you just got up and left.
Well, yeah, because they asked us to. It wasn't really bad, but I mean, we knew what they were saying when they asked that. Instead of we were human beings.
Right.
But they said packages, so we became packages. And that was funny to us.
Gotcha.
I kind of remember that a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but,
Were there other places that were segregated that you weren't allowed
Most
to go?
everywhere.
Most everywhere?
Yeah, most everywhere, like on the buses. You had to ride in the back of the bus. And it was always interesting, too, because, everybody was going to and from work. And then there were these people that, they did dirty work like outdoors and all that kind of stuff. And you could be standing on up. They had a place to sit down. And they did not like that because you sit side of someone and they're smelly if they've been out. And that was cool. Well, you don't want to sit beside me. The black is not going to rub off on me to you. But, I understand that. Yeah, so it was, things have changed. Martin Luther King and some others have taken care of that. To get, it's not so bad now. Yeah, some of that stuff was for real, and some of it you read is not. But it depends on who's writing the story.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And that's why we want to hear your story. So you can...
Yeah, their stories were good, some not. But they were good people. Yeah. And they taught us a lot of love and, those kind of things. Yeah. And we do the same thing. Yeah.
Since most of your life now has been in Denver, is there anything in Denver that you experienced that was similar to having to ride in the back of the bus or
Oh, that's about the basic things. You couldn't getting certain. I know this one place that I wanted to be, taught. Uh, be a person that that you would come in and they would send you to places that you needed to go, but they didn't see you. But I went to school for that, but they wouldn't let me. I had the voice, but not the color. Hmm. That's the only thing that I can really remember. That
Sure.
But then I thought, this voice you don't hear, but some people out there wish they could. That was my saying. Well,
Yeah.
you make yourself be happy.
And you mentioned when we were chatting before the video that you love being black.
Of course. Don't you love being your color?
Sure.
And I think that would be, I'm glad you asked that. But sure, I wouldn't want to change me for no way, because this is how God made me. So why would I want to change it? But I know there are people that do. No.
In the short time I've known you, I like you just how you are too.
Thank you. Thank you. I know as I was growing up, you feel like, what do you want to do for yourself? And my thing is, my thing is, as of now still, it's a smile. Smiles will take you a lot of places. That's something you can give away, but you can't take it back.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And you share them, whether people don't, like if I smile at you, there's no way you can say, why did you do that? I hate it. Because I can't take it back. And you don't like it, but you still got it.
And it's very
That's
unthreatening to smile at somebody.
Right. It doesn't do anything but make you feel good. And that's me. That's me.
Yeah, I know it's you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I learned to do that when I was young.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, because I worked in the hospital and you see a lot of sickness.
Sure.
And I used to hear people say, well, you came in today, so where's our smile? And that made me feel good as well as them.
Yeah. I'm sure you brighten a lot of days.
I think so, yeah. And I still am.
Mm.
Yeah, I like to smile. It's wonderful. That's why God made you to be you. And he didn't make you to be somebody else, because, well, that would be my thing.
Sure.
If you're unhappy about something, or if you want to ask me something, I'd be happy to tell you. You may not like what I say. And I feel if I ask you something and you don't like me asking you that, then tell me the real, don't be just say, be truthful and real. That's what I like. And that's what the other person I'd like to, just be you. That's the only thing I can say. Oh, no, well, I was baptized when I was young. I don't remember how old I was, but young. And then, I stayed in that particular thing. And then as I went to church, and I became a Seventh-day Adventist, which I still am. And I like that. And that's my, my beliefs are still really, faith for God, because God is good. Because I just had this surgery a long time ago, and he gave me a miracle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's still where my faith is.